Hey guys, it's Miss Wilfong here. I just want to go over some of the problems that we had in the parallelograms assignment. I believe it was parallelograms part 2. Let's review the properties of parallelograms. So remember, the first of our 5 properties of parallelograms is that both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. So that would mean that side AB and side CD are parallel to each other. It also means that side BC is parallel to side AD. The second property of parallelograms is that both pair of opposite sides are congruent. So that means that side AB is the same length or the same measure as side CD. It also means that side BC is the same length as side AD. The third property is that both pairs of opposite angles are congruent. So angle A is opposite angle C. So by the properties of parallelograms, those two angles are congruent. As well as angle D is opposite angle B. So those two angles are congruent. Now remember though, that does not mean that angle D and angle C are congruent to each other. It only means that the opposite angles are congruent. Because in our fourth property, we find out that consecutive angles are supplementary, meaning that the consecutive interior angles add up to 180 degrees. So that would mean that angle A plus angle B would add up to 180 degrees. Or angle A plus angle D adds up to 180 degrees. And lastly, the diagonals bisect each other. Remember, bisect means cut in half. So when, I'm going to do these in a different color, when segment or diagonal AC intersects with diagonal BD, we know that these two parts are congruent to each other, and these two parts are congruent to each other. All right, let's look at our choices here. Amy's making bows for a craft project, which requires a strip of ribbon in the shape of a parallelogram. So they're telling us that this is a parallelogram. So now they're asking us which statements are true of Amy's patterns. Choose all that are correct. So we're going to check off the ones that are correct. So the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B equals 180 degrees. Well, let's see. Angle A, let me highlight it. Angle A and angle B are consecutive interior angles. And what do we know about the consecutive interior angles in a parallelogram? We know that that makes them supplementary, so this would be true. So we're going to check that off. Now they're telling us that angle A and angle C are congruent. Well, angle A and angle C are opposite each other in this parallelogram. So yes, that is true because that is also a property of a parallelogram, that the opposite angles are congruent. So we'll check that off. The next one is the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle C is 180 degrees. Well, they don't tell us that the opposite angles are supplementary. They told us that the opposite angles are congruent. So that is not going to be one of our selections. It does not meet the properties of a parallelogram. The fourth is segment AB is parallel to segment CD. Well, we had that marked off, didn't we, when we went through our properties and marked up our figure here? So yes, that's true. Because they are opposite sides, both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. Then side BC is congruent to side AD. Well, we also marked that off when we were going through our properties. So yes, that is also true, because the opposite sides are also congruent in a parallelogram. And then lastly, angle A and angle D. Angle D is here. Well, angle A and angle D, aren't they consecutive interior angles? Consecutive interior angles we know are supplementary. It doesn't always mean that they are congruent. So we're not going to check that one because we have no information to know that's a true statement. Hope that helps with this question.